Hello guys, welcome to the next video in this series on PyQt. In this video I'm gonna do a simple hello world program in the Qt designer, and I'm gonna show you how to compile and run that program. Alright, first up let's open the designer. So you click on start, and you can type designer. Yesterday I showed you how to make a shortcut to the designer. So if you've done it on a desktop, open up your designer. If you've done it on start, click on start and open it up from there. Alright, once your designer is open, you'll see you get a new form pop up. In here you got a bunch of options. Basically you got dialogues. There's 3 types of dialogues. There's basically preset a bunch of settings for you. You got a main window. The main window got a menu where you can add stuff like a file and a print menu. You got a status bar. The widget is just a blank widget. For starters, I'm going to use a dialog. A dialog is a pop-up box. So let's choose a dialog without buttons. Keep it simple. I'm going to click create. Alright, first off, this is Qt Designer. So in the middle here, you got your design area. So this is where you're going to drag and drop all the buttons. In the left side, you see there's a widget box. In the widget box here is all the types of controls and buttons that we can drag and drop on this workspace here in the middle. So for instance, if I want to grab a button, you can drag and drop it, and there's your button. One thing to note is there's 2 ways you can build your forms. Either you can drag or drop it, or you can build everything from scratch in your Python script. Alright, first thing that I want to show you is the layout. So there's different types of form layouts. Let's grab a bunch of buttons so you can see the effect. First up, you'll see at the top here there's layouts. There's a horizontal layout. There is a vertical layout. If you want to remove the current form layout, you can click on break. There is a grid layout which allows you to arrange your buttons in a grid view. Alright, let's remove all the layouts. If you want multiple layouts on your form, what you can do, let's grab another button. What you can do is, for instance, we want a horizontal layout. We're going to lay out these 3 buttons horizontally, and the rest of the form must be in a vertical layout. So you can do that. Let's drag this below that button. So there's 2 types of layouts. Okay, let's undo. Okay, next up you got the buttons. You've seen the push button, there's radio buttons. There is, you get your tables and lists and tree views. We'll discuss this later in more detail. You can group stuff together. There's frames. There's a whole lot of stuff down here. You can go. Feel free to explore on your own time. As the series progresses, we'll take a look at some of the most common options. Alright, so for this video, we're going to create a simple hello world widget. So first up, I want to grab a label, and I'm going to do a simple quit button. So let's type in the button and do a push button. And we're going to set our form layout to vertically. Alright, if you want to change the labels, you can double click on it. We're going to type in hello world, and here we can type in quit. Okay, on your right hand side you will see there's 3 boxes here. There's object inspector, the property editor, and signals and slots. So first up, the object inspector. This is useful if you want to quickly select. If you got a lot of widgets on the workspace and you want to select this particular one, you can do it from here. And also if you want to rename check if everything is named. So this is your background name, if I can call it as such, or your object name. So let's give this proper object name. So I'm going to call that label main. So that is going to be this hello world label. And the push button, let's call that button quit. Alright, next up the property editor. Right, so if you click on a label or you click on a widget, you'll see the property editor update. So what this basically does, every widget's got a whole lot of properties. So if you scroll, we've clicked here on the hello world label, and there is a whole bunch of properties you can set and change. So I encourage you to play around with this and to see what you can do, and the best way to learn this is to go in practically and just start changing the settings and see what the effect is. So in this video I'm gonna bold it. Let's make it a bit larger. So size 15 or 16. We can increase the size even more. If you scroll down, we can adjust the alignment. Let's center it, and I think that should do it for now. Alright, if once you're done and you want to preview your form, you can press Ctrl R on the keyboard, and then it will run the form, and this will give you a quick preview. So you see you can click on everything but nothing works. So let's close that up. Okay, the last box at the bottom here is a signals and slot box. I prefer to do this in the Python script, mainly because you got more flexibility there. So for our first app, I think this is about it. We're going to discuss regarding the designer. So let's save this designer. I'm going to save this under our workspace folder, and we can call this the hello world, and let's add a prefix called view. Alright, so if I open up the workspace, you'll see there's our hello world user interface. The hello world.py file is the one we created yesterday. You can delete that one, so you're only left with the user interface. These two, the idea and this folder, is both generated by PyCharm. Alright, the next thing you want to do is convert this user interface file into a Python script. Now I realize that the new PyQt 5 got the ability to import UI files, but I still prefer to create the scripts and be able to open up and view the code. So how you convert the scripts is, first we're going to create a batch file. So you can right click and select new text document. So in this text document we're going to convert this hello world view into a Python script. So let's change this to hello world dot bat. You can do the extension .bat or .cmd. So let's change it, save the file. Alright, so there is your script. To edit it, right click and click edit. So first that you want to do here is write Python user interface convert 5. You want the target file is going to be your user interface file, so we're going to write here view hello world dot user interface, and the output file we're going to call view hello world dot pyw. This is a Python widget, hence the pyw. So let's save this batch file. Alright, once it's saved, you can double click it. and you'll see it generated the PyW Python scripts. Okay, double click on the script and let's see what it generated. Okay, once PyCharm open up, you'll see here the PyW file that we just created. One thing to note, at the top here it states that you must not make edits to this file and all changes will be lost. So basically what's going to happen every time we're going to run this bat file, it's going to regenerate this PyW file. So the basic idea is you create your form in the designer. Once you're done, you save the designer and then you run your bat file and this will update your view. So let's just go back and open up the view. So in here you can see all the generated PyQt 5 code. If you right click on the script, you can run it from here. And there's your form exactly as in the designer, and nothing works yet. So let's take it a step further and start to connect the buttons. So before we can do that, we need to create a new Python script or a controller. So I'm going to close this. Let's go back to a workspace folder, and in here I'm going to create a new file. Let's go to text documents. I'm going to call this controller hello world. So a program consists of two parts. It consists of the hello world Python view. Just click yes, and it consists of a controller. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to load the view in the controller, and then from here there on we're going to connect the buttons and all that. So double click on your controller file, and there you got an empty blank page for the controller. So the first thing you want to do is you want to import the view. So we can start with our imports. So we're going to import the view hello world. Also part of the imports, we want to import PyQt 5. So we're going to say from PyQt 5 imports Qt widgets. Qt widgets is the base class for this script. Next thing, we're going to create our class. I'm going to call this the controller hello world, and we're going to inherit from Qt widgets dot Q widgets. And we're going to inherit from Qt widgets dot Q dot dialog. So basically what this is saying is that our controller hello world class is a Q dialog, or it inherits everything from the Q dialog class. Next up, we need to define our init statement. Our init statement is the constructor or the statement that runs when this class is constructed or created. So the first we're going to enter a parent parameter here. This for now I'm going to set it to none. So basically what this says, the self parameter is a reference to this class, and the parent parameter is going to reference to the parent. You'll see more examples later on. So let's proceed. Alright, the next thing you want to do is to initialize the QDialog constructor. So first we need to write QtWidgets.QDialog, and we need to run QDialog's init statement, and we're going to pass the same parameters as above. Right, next up we're going to create the user interface. So let's call it self.userInterface equals view hello world dot user interface dialog. Alright, so this is our view that we just created, the same one we imported. And this UI dialog function, if I open up the view and you scroll right near the top, you'll see there is the class's name is UI dialog. So basically what we're doing is we're creating a class instance, calling it user interface or UI, that contains our form that we just created. So the next step is to activate one of the methods on that in that user interface class. So set UI dot setup UI. So this is standard procedure with all the generated classes. The setup UI method, if you open your Python widgets class, then you'll see there is the setup function. So first we need to create an instance of this class, and then we need to run the setup method. So here we created the instance of the class, and there we're creating and running the setup method. Alright, so first I just want to run the view from our controller. So I'm not going to connect any buttons, let's just get the view up and running. So let's enter and go to the next line. So what you want to do here, let me write it out and then I can explain it. So I'm going to say if name, so the file name equals main, then. So basically what this line is saying, if this is the main file we're running. In other words, if I right click on this file and click run, then this is the main file, this is the header file running. Then we need to create a new application equals, sorry, before we create that application I need to import system. Then if I create the application, we're going to create a Qt widgets.q application. I know this is a lot of new stuff, but just keep at it. A lot of this code you're going to use over and over again. So even if you don't understand everything, just go through the motions, and for the first few programs you can just copy and paste it, and from there on you'll start gradually understanding more and more of it. So let's continue with this line. We created a new Q application. We're going to import from systems.argument value. I'm not even going to attempt to explain that now. Just bear with me. Alright, next up we need to invoke this class or create an instance of the controller class. So I'm going to create a, let's call it my form. And we're going to make it an instance of the controller. Alright, next up we want to show my form, myForm.show, and then finally I'm going to type system.exit.app.execute. Okay, we've done a lot of things, so before I explain it, let me just run this and see if everything is fine. We missed semicolon. Let's run it. And the setup UI needs to know the self parameter. Let me run it again. Okay, so there we go. So basically what we've done is we started off with a designer, we created the designing form, then we saved this to our workspace folder, this one, the UI file. We converted the view into a PYW file by means of this batch file. Once you got that done, We don't want to work directly on the PYW file because it's generated. So we're going to use a controller to connect the buttons and do the actual coding in. So in the controller, we first started off and we imported PyQt and the Qt widgets class. You can see here where it is used throughout the application. Then we imported into our controller script the view, which we just generated. Next up, we created our controller class. This is this segment here. So what we basically said, there's a controller, we call it hello world, which is inheriting or is a queue dialog. First up, we got the constructor or the init statement. So in this part, basically what we're saying, the moment we create this is the controller class, this constructor or init class is going to run. First up, we're going to call the queue dialog constructor. Then we're going to create a class or instance of the view that we created. So self.ui is the instance of the view hello world class. And finally, we run a method on that class. So we type self.ui.setupUI. So this basically loads everything and set it up. Then at the bottom section of our code, we got basically what we're saying here. If this is the main file, if I right click on this file and I run it, then run this code. Otherwise, ignore it. So if I call this controller from somewhere else and it's not the main file, then it's not going to run this section. But in this case, when you right click and you run, it's going to the name is going to be main and it's going to run this code. So what this is saying below is importing from system. So we're importing from the system files. We got a create an application instance. Then we create an instance of our class, the controller class. And we show that controller class. And then we run the application. And that's about it. So if you right click this, that is the result you get. And still nothing is connected. Alright, first thing we want to do to connect that button is you're going to go to the init statement. And here we're going to add a connection statement. So first we're going to write self.userinterface.button quits. And we're going to connect its clicked action dot connect to self dot close. Alright, so once you run that, connect should have a double N. Let's run that. And click on the quit button, it quits the application. So you see it exit with 0 errors. Now I realize this is a lot to take in. I encourage you to try and practice this at home and build this application. Once you build it, you'll understand it better and it will just be easier. So the last thing I want to show you, a nice thing, if you want to make changes, say to the user interface. Let's do that. Let's go back to the user interface. I'm going to open this with Designer. This is the first time we open the Designer from this side, so let's just quickly go to the Designer app. It is located on the C drive, program files, Python, lib, and then it should be under site packages. And PyQt 5 tools, this one. So under here we should see the Designer exe selected here, and from now on it should open every time all the UI files via the Designer. So, like I said, the nice thing if you want to make changes, so for instance we want to add a second button, let's just drag and drop this push button. Due to time constraints, I'm just going to leave it as is, so let's save this user interface. To update the changes, we need to run the batch file, so I'm going to double click my batch file. So there it updated the file. And now if I run the controller, you should see 2 buttons. Alright, and that's it. In the next video we're going to start with basic widgets, and we're going to go in more depth in that. So I hope you found this useful, and see you in the next video.